Good evening, friends. I'm thunderstruck to find that Devashish is not only an author, but he's also a predictor of the future. He's written a book about a dance bar girl who was sold. She was auctioned, in fact. And on TV last night, I saw that an English girl, a model, was being auctioned on the black TV, as they call it. I don't know how many of you have heard that there is an actual internet which is called black internet, where the most horrible things happen. You can buy drugs, you can buy girls, you can buy anything you like. And the police are unable to trace it. So this was all the news internationally on CNN and so on. And so I say your book has come at the right time. So if anyone wants to read it, what it does, it throws a light on something that has unfortunately been characterized as vulgar, cheap, sexy, which it's not. I've been to dance bars when they were functioning in Bombay. I used to go to dance bars regularly with friends, and I found them extremely, yes, they were sexy, I will say that. The girls never, ever took off their clothes. For that young man, there's no, never. But what has happened is that, you know, in India, we have to throw off all these shackles. We really do that. Because otherwise we go on with the same old thing, everything that is not suitable for our censor board. And we know Mr. Nihalani has made a name for himself for being, you know, what the British would call a blue nose. And his nose is blue because all the time he is weeping and blowing his nose. He's being criticized bitterly, and I'm very happy about it. But let me say that a movie I saw only last week, Lipstick Under My Vodka. Excellent movie, and the whole audience was packed. And what was very interesting as I looked around the audience was that at least 10 to 15% of the audience were wearing burqas. And it was a film that showed that today India is finally coming out of the Middle Ages, which Europe did about 400 years ago. And they're finally admitting that there is a thing called personal expression, and it should be encouraged, not discouraged. Just to give you an idea of the author and his writing and his ability to create a scene, I'm going to do a very short passage. Yeah? Okay, it's called the story, Neelam's story. Neelam had an oval face with a high forehead. Her cute and small nose had given a character to her face. Her skin had the hue of bronze. Her hair had turned reddish brown at the edges without proper care, and she was unable to oil her hair ever since she was brought here to the Panch Ganga. Just to break her resolve, this was an auction, right? This is an auction where they're auctioning women. Some years ago, Vijay Tendulkar wrote a brilliant play, which was about Kamla, which was about a woman who was sold, I think if I'm not mistaken, in Rajasthan they have auctioning of women. You would buy a woman. And finally, I think they closed it down. My colleague here is going to tell you much more about how the dance bars operate. Anyway, just to break her resolve, she was not given any food for the last few days. Yet, her glands had oozed sufficient juices that kept her going. Despite her servitude, she was deliciously attractive. She would have made a very alluring concubine and could have made a lot of money for herself, for her family, as well as for the community. Yet, she rebelled, and the Biradari had to punish her for being a rebel. With her veil lowered, she was forced to balance a huge stone on her head under the dry, hot afternoon sun, and was made to stand stock still. She was not even given a morsel of food while everybody else around feasted. Had she failed to keep the rock balanced properly on her head till the community feast was over, she would have been publicly lashed. The carp was in progress. Recently, that word, carp, has become to be one of the most evil things I've ever heard of. Neelam had to pay a price for marrying, being faithful to her husband, and for refusing to become a harlot. Neelam had declared to her friends that she was happy in her marriage. She advised them to get married instead of obeying the community rule of joining harlotry and becoming a sexually profligate woman. How could the carp tolerate such propaganda? Panchganga had to react, or else its hold over the entire community would be shaken. Community members of all nearby villages were invited to gather and take part in the feast along with the members of the carp. Families who were reluctant to join the feast, even though they were marginal in numbers, issued an order akin to warrants, and some carp members were sent to fetch them, especially the women, if necessary by force. Neelam was the worst of her. She did not want to leave her husband, who belonged to a different community. She loved him. He was a caring and loving man. After listening to her case, the carp fined her family for allowing her to marry. The family had no option left but to auction its cows and goats, as well as a very small patch of land that had been bought recently with savings from its meager income of selling milk, and thereby pay part of the fine imposed. Else the family would have been excommunicated, thrown out of the village, and their property would have been confiscated. After the family paid the fine, it was asked to leave the venue of the Panchganga and the council of community leaders. And then Neelam was put on sale to recover the balance of the fine. She was made to stand in the open under the sun. Her veil had already been taken off. Elderly women from the community came forward and lowered her sari suggestively as far below her navel as possible to display a smooth, flat belly with no stretch marks, indicating no pregnancy. And others came forward and groped her butt and felt her thighs for their firmness. Throughout the auction, she was leered at. Her womanhood was taunted and exposed in the worst possible manner to vulgar display, so that she could fetch the highest possible price at the auction. The bidding process started with the auctioneer shouting prices. Rupees 5,000 going, 6,000 going, 7,000 going, 8,000 gone. Mangila, the man who bought Neelam by paying 8,000 rupees, immediately took her to Delhi and sold her off to a brothel keeper for triple the amount. If we don't close this chapter of our so-called culture, I don't know how we will ever enter the future, standing straight and upright. It is disgusting that I am an Indian and I have seen all this happening, and there are people who are writing against it, doing that, and many others. The lady here will tell you much more about that. And I would say, unless we are prepared to get rid of these past so-called traditions, which are nothing but exploiting womanhood, we will never ever be civilized. And I think Aristotle Greek said that civilization is judged by the way it honors its women. That is what civilization is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Your reading, I'm sure, has definitely touched all the hearts here. Thank you again also for your insights. Ladies and gentlemen, we are glad to have Madam Varsha Kai with us, an ardent social activist, writer, women leader, and active in public life for more than 2 decades now. Committed primarily to women's cause, she is also active on varied social issues and participated in different movements and campaigns right from college days. Engaged in legal and social research work to support legal fight in the Supreme Court for the rights of downtrodden. Apart from advocacy work, she is engaged in writing, translations and documentation. Has vast experience in training, project execution, coordination and documentation. I would request now Varsha ji to kindly address the gathering. Madam.
मैं हिंदी में बात करूंगी और पहले तो मैं देवाशीष जी को अभिनंदन करूंगी क्योंकि डांस बार्स के विषय पे और इन लड़कियों के विषय पे बहुत कम जानकारी लोगों के पास है, जबकि 2005 से लेकर 2007 तक मुझे लगता है कि मीडिया में यही विषय सबसे ज़्यादा चर्चित बहुचर्चित विषय रहा था। तो लोगों को लग रहा है कि हमें बहुत सारी जानकारी है मगर बहुत कम जानकारी लोगों के सामने आ पाई। मैंने खुद 2002 में बार गर्ल्स के बारे में पहली बार कुछ जाना था और मुझे लगा कि इनको यूनियनाइज करना ज़रूरी है, उनको ऑर्गेनाइज करना ज़रूरी है। और मैं मुंबई के लगभग सभी बार्स में और सभी रेलवे स्टेशंस पे और रातों के ट्रेन्स में घूम रही थी। धीरे धीरे ये जो एक मैं हमेशा कहती हूँ कि एक कर्टन है जो एक बहुत बड़े लोहे से बना हुआ है जो बारगर्ल्स और हमारे बीच है। दूसरी बात यह है कि ये एक ऐसी दुनिया है कि जिसमें ज़्यादातर पुरुष जाते हैं हमारे समाज से, औरतें नहीं जाती वहाँ पे। क्यों नहीं जाती? उनको कोई उनके जाने पे पाबंदी नहीं है मगर हम नहीं जाते, डांस बार्स में हम नहीं जाते। एक तो ये है कि इस तरह का मनोरंजन है ये जो पुरुषों के लिए है और एक मिडिल क्लास या लोअर मिडिल क्लास और अपर मिडिल क्लास से कुछ तबके से, क्योंकि सभी जगह पे बार्स है। मुंबई के मैप पे अगर आप देखेंगे तो साउथ बॉम्बे में भी है, अगर हम देखेंगे सबर्ब में है, थाना डिस्ट्रिक्ट में है, रायगढ़ डिस्ट्रिक्ट में है, पूना में भी है, औरंगाबाद में है। तो जहाँ 1250 बार्स डांस बार्स मुंबई में 2002 में थे, औरतें नहीं जा रही थी, बहुत कम औरतें वहाँ जाती थी आउट ऑफ क्यूरियोसिटी। इवन पुरुष भी, बहुत यंग लड़के भी ऐसे ही जाते थे कि क्या हो रहा है वहाँ पे। मगर लड़कियों से बात करना और दूर की बात थी और लड़कियां जिनको हम कस्टमर कहते हैं, जो पुरुष वहाँ पे जाते हैं, उनसे जो बात करती है वो एक अलग तरीके की बात होती है। मगर उनकी जिंदगियां बहुत अलग होती हैं, उससे भी अलग। मतलब जैसे मैंने लड़कियों को, क्योंकि वो 75,000 लड़कियां थी, 75,000 लड़कियां, तो इनके तक पहुँचने के लिए मुझे काफ़ी समय लगा। दूसरे उनके दुनिया में के अंदर जाना था और हर एक की दुनिया के अंदर जाना था, क्योंकि हर एक की स्टोरी अलग थी। दूसरी बात है कि ये पुरुष थे जो वहाँ पे जा रहे थे और वो अलग अलग तरह का उनके अपना एक मत बना के बाहर घूम रहे थे और लोगों को बता रहे थे। तीसरा वहाँ जाने वाले लोग थे मीडिया के लोग, तो मीडिया एक तरह से देख रहा था उनको। और कुछ लोग थे, वो थे पुलिस, क्योंकि पुलिस वहाँ पे रेड डाल रही थी, तो पुलिस का एक नज़रिया था। और मैं इन सब का नज़रिया देखने के लिए कुछ 6 महीनों तक सिर्फ घूम रही थी। शुरू में लड़कियां मुझसे बात करने से हिचकिचाती थी, मगर धीरे धीरे उन्होंने बात करना शुरू किया और मैंने उनके साथ बात करते समय मैंने एक तरीका अपनाया था। मैं उनको बोलती थी कि वो जो कस्टमर वाली स्टोरी है वो मुझे मत बता। फिर मैं बोलती थी वो जो पत्रकारों वाली स्टोरी है वो मुझे मत बता। फिर मैं उनको बोलती थी वो जो पुलिस वाली स्टोरी है वो मुझे मत बता, तेरी स्टोरी मुझे बता। तो फिर मैं तो एक एक्टिविस्ट थी, और फिर मेरे लिए भी और एक वर्जन था, तो उसको भी मुझे ब्रेक करना था और उसके अंदर पहुंचना था। धीरे 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 मैं उसके अंदर तक पहुंच पाई, शायद हजारों स्टोरीज मैंने सुनी और फिर मैंने जाना कि ये दुनिया क्या है। मैं कुछ जो वहाँ जाने वाले पुरुषों से भी बात कर रही थी, चलाने वाले शेट्टीज ज़्यादातर थे उनसे बात कर रही थी, तो मैंने जाना पुलिस जो वहाँ पे रेड डालते थे उनकी बातें मैं सुन रही थी, फिर पॉलिटिशियंस जो इसके अगेंस्ट थे। मगर स्टोरी क्या थी कि जब मैंने उनको ऑर्गेनाइज किया तो मेरा भी एक तरीका था, मैं बायस थी। एक तो मैं फेमिनिस्ट मूवमेंट से आई थी, तो मेरा एक तरीका था कि मैं पूरे शरीर को ढकने वाले कपड़े पहनती थी, कॉटन के कपड़े पहनती थी, बाल छोटे छोटे काटती थी। मैंने कभी टीका नहीं लगाया था, कान के बाली नहीं पहनी थी। मैं बहुत क्योंकि मैं 17-18 साल की उम्र से झारखंड मुक्ति आंदोलन वगैरह करने वाली औरत थी। तो मैंने जाना कि ये लड़कियां अलग हैं, तो मुझे उनकी तरह से भी सोचना चाहिए और मैंने उनको जानना शुरू किया था। ये तो उन्होंने देखिए कि फेमिनिस्ट मूवमेंट में भी काफ़ी बदलाव आया। आप शायद सब उनसे जुड़े नहीं हैं और फेमिनिस्ट मूवमेंट में क्या चलता है वो आम बात नहीं होती है। आम बात होती है जब आप तक एक कानून पहुंचता है, एक औरत के लिए लॉ बनता है तो आपको पता चलता है। मगर जो बातें हो रही थी फेमिनिस्ट मूवमेंट के जितने एक्टिविस्ट मेरी फ्रेंड्स थी, मैं उनसे बात कर रही थी और मैं कह रही थी कि मैं तो इनको ऑर्गेनाइज कर रही हूँ। तो उन्होंने कहा ये औरत है जो देह प्रदर्शन करती है, जो पैसा इजी मनी के लिए नाचती है, बारों में अपना शरीर दिखाती है। तो मैंने कहा हाँ, मगर वो तो औरतें हैं, तो हमें उनके लिए भी कुछ करना चाहिए। तो धीरे मैंने उन लड़कियों से बात की कि कभी कभी मुझे भी लगता था कि एक लड़की थी जो काफ़ी शराब उसने पी थी उस दिन और हम बार से बाहर निकले। मैंने उसको कहा कि चलो मैं आज तुम्हारे साथ घूमूंगी, क्योंकि मैं रात भर घूमती थी। तो एक आदमी उसको देखे जा रहा था, उसने बहुत लो कट एक ब्लाउज पहना था और बहुत पतला एकदम एक जॉर्जेट टाइप की साड़ी थी। तो वो बहुत घूरे जा रहा था। तो मैंने कहा देखो वो घूर रहा है तुमको। तो उसने कहा घूरने दो, तुम्हें क्या प्रॉब्लम है। तो मैंने कहा मगर वो तुमको देख रहा है, कैसी नज़र से। तो उसने कहा मैं देखने की चीज़ हूँ तो देख रहा है, तो क्या तुम्हें देखेगा ताई, तो मुझे ही देखेगा ना। तो मैंने कहा अच्छा ये तुमको अच्छा लग रहा है। तो उसने कहा मुझे तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, अगर मुझे कोई नहीं देखेगा तो मुझे कोई पैसा भी नहीं देगा ना, तो मैं देखने के लिए तैयार हुई हूँ तो देखने दो ना। तो मैंने कहा अगर तुम शराब नहीं पी होती ना तो मैं इसको पकड़ के पीट देती थी। तो उसने कहा अरे पीटने से पैसा नहीं मिलता है और मैं पैसे के लिए नाच रही हूँ। मैं फेमिनिस्ट मूवमेंट में काफ़ी समय से ये बातें बता रही थी कि क्या क्या अनुभव थे। तो मैंने एक दिन कहा कि वो अगर शरीर दिखाती है, जैसे मॉरल पुलिसिंग इतना बढ़ गया है ना पिछले 10 सालों में, हमें पता चलने लगा है। पहले तो औरतें भी उसमें मान लेती थी तो वो पता नहीं चलता था, अब कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो गया तो पता चलने लगा। तो मैंने उनको कहा कि अगर मैं छोटे कपड़े पहनती हूँ, मैं मेरी टांगे दिखाती हूँ, तो वो मेरी टांगे है, तुम्हारे वो लड़कियों की भाषा में मैंने बोला था कि फिर तुम्हारे बाप का क्या जाता है। क्योंकि उन्होंने मुझे कहा था कि अगर हम घाघरा चोली पहनते हैं, बारों में डांस करते हैं, तो तुम्हारे बाप का क्या जाता है। तो ये एक नारा बन गया कि हमारे होठ, हमारी लिपस्टिक, किसी के बाप का क्या जाता है। ठीक है, हमारी स्कर्ट, हमारी टांगे, किसी के बाप का क्या जाता है। ये फेमिनिस्ट मूवमेंट में ये नारा लगा। ये मैं क्यों बता रही हूँ, क्योंकि एक नज़रिया बदलने का तरीका होता है और वो पूरा फेमिनिस्ट मूवमेंट फिर दो पार्ट बन गए कि कुछ बारगर्ल्स को सपोर्ट करने लगे, कुछ नहीं कर रहे थे। मगर धीरे धीरे इन लड़कियों से डायलॉग उनका भी शुरू हुआ और लोगों को पता चला। फिर सिर्फ लाइवलीहुड का सवाल है क्या ये, और लोग बताते हैं कि डिग्निटी भी कुछ चीज़ है। तो बर्तन मांजने वाली औरत भी पैसा कमाती है डिग्निटी से। मगर यहाँ बहुत सारी लड़कियाँ थी जो बर्तन मांज चुकी थी किसी के घर पे और फिर सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट की विक्टिम भी हुई थी और फिर बारों में आई थी। अलग अलग तरीकों से लड़कियां बारों में आती हैं। मगर मैंने ये जाना कि धीरे धीरे मेरा नज़रिया बदल रहा था कि अगर उनका शरीर है, उनको अगर दिखा के पैसे कमाने हैं तो वो उनका हक है। वो नाचती है, वो अपने आप को कलाकार समझती है। 2002 को याद कीजिए, अगर कोई मराठी लोग यहाँ पे हैं तो जस्टिस चंद्रशेखर धर्माधिकारी, उन्होंने एक आर्टिकल लिखा था कि महाराष्ट्र को बार गर्ल्स की बार बालाओं की ज़रूरत नहीं है, महाराष्ट्र को ज़रूरत है वीर बालाओं की। तो इससे और एक नज़रिया बदल गया कि बार बाला क्या वीर बाला नहीं है, क्योंकि उन्होंने वीर बाला के बारे में ऐसे कहा था, डेफिनेशन की थी कि जो घर के लिए लड़ती है, बच्चों के लिए लड़ती है, अपना फैमिली चलाने के लिए लड़ती है, कामकाजी महिला है, वो वीर बालाएं हैं। तो फिर जब मैं लड़कियों से बात कर रही थी तो एक नारा आया कि बार बाला भी है, हम एक्सेप्ट करते हैं कि हम बार बाला है, मगर हम वीर बाला भी हैं। तो आपने शायद सुना होगा काफ़ी बार उस समय, अगर जो टीवी देखते हो, न्यूज़ में बार गर्ल्स के देखते होंगे, तो बार बाला भी है और वीर बाला भी है, ये नारा रहा है बार गर्ल्स का। मगर हुआ ये था कि इतना उलझ गया वो, क्योंकि बहुत सारा एक फिल्म या एक नॉवेल जिसमें हिंसा भी है, प्यार भी है, नफरत भी है, पॉलिटिक्स भी है, बार गर्ल्स का इशू ऐसे उलझ गया, हर तबके में उलझ गया। औरतों ने भी काफ़ी चर्चा की। क्या चर्चा की? बहुत सारी, तब के जो होम मिनिस्टर थे उन्होंने भी कहा कि बहुत सारी औरतों ने कहा कि हम आपको राखी बांधेंगे रक्षाबंधन के दिन, क्योंकि आपकी वजह से हमारे फैमिलीज बच गई। बार डांस पे बैन आ गया, जबकि मैं चिल्ला चिल्ला के बता रही थी कि डांस बार पे बैन नहीं है, बार में डांस करने पे बैन है। क्योंकि बार गर्ल्स थी, वेटर का काम कर रही थी, सिंगर का काम कर रही थी और डांसर का काम कर रही थी। आर पाटिल जी ने, होम मिनिस्टर ने, सिर्फ और सिर्फ डांसर्स के बारे में बात की थी। तो बार्स भी खुले थे, वहाँ पे औरतें, लेडीज जो वेटर बोलते हैं कि वेटर सर्विस उनके भाषा में, तो वेट्रेसिंग कर रही थी, वो गाना ऑर्केस्ट्रा में गा रही थी। अभी भी आप देखेंगे कि लाइव ऑर्केस्ट्रा का बोर्ड लगा हुआ रहता है। तो ऐसी सारी चीज़ें तब हो रही थी। अब तक मतलब कहते हैं कि बार बार हाई कोर्ट में केस जीतने के बाद, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में केस जीतने के बाद एक कानून आया, फिर उसको चैलेंज किया, फिर उसमें हम जीते, और फिर एक बार एक नया कानून आया। तो अब ये फंसता जा रहा है, मतलब 12 साल से ऊपर हो गए ये जो डांस बार का केस है उसको करते हुए। लड़कियां कहाँ से आई है? राजस्थान से आई है, यूपी से आई है, बिहार से आई है, वेस्ट बंगाल से आई है, लगभग हर स्टेट से आई है। ज़्यादातर नॉर्थ इंडियन लड़कियां इसमें हैं। तो महाराष्ट्र में ये भी चला कि हम मराठी लड़कियों को रिहेबिलिटेट करेंगे, मगर नॉर्थ इंडियन लड़कियों की जिम्मेदारी हम क्यों लेंगे? मुझे ये करना पड़ा कि जैसे मैं उनके बस्तियों में गई, कांग्रेस हाउस गई, बच्चू की वाड़ी में गई, मीरा रोड गई, सभी जगह जहाँ जहाँ वो रहती थी, सायन कोड़ीवाड़ा गई, वैसे ही मुझे राजस्थान जाना पड़ा, यूपी जाना पड़ा, बिहार जाना पड़ा, क्योंकि लड़कियाँ वहाँ जा रही थी। वहाँ वो क्या कर रही थी? तो मुजरा कर रही थी। ये मुजरा करने वाली लड़कियाँ भी हैं इसमें, और काफ़ी तादाद में हैं। तो अभी भी ये सब चल रहा है कि अगर डांस बंद होता है तो ये लड़कियां देह व्यापार में चली जाती है, और देह व्यापार में जाने के बाद क्या होता है, आपको सबको मतलब थोड़ी जानकारी है, क्योंकि जैसे वो डांस करती है तो शायद, मतलब मेरी काफ़ी पुरानी एक फ्रेंड है और काफ़ी जाना माना नाम है, तो मैं उसका नाम नहीं लूँगी, मगर उसने मुझे कहा था कि मतलब पहले की बार जब मिले तो हमने कहा कि आप अगर सपोर्ट करो बार डांसर्स को तो बहुत अच्छा होगा। तो उसने कहा मुझसे मिलो। मैं गई। जाने के बाद उसने मुझे पहला सवाल ये पूछा कि वर्षा, क्या ये सच है ये लड़कियां एक रात में 50,000 कमाती हैं? तो मैंने कहा हाँ सच है। तो उसने कहा तो क्या ये ठीक है? तो मैंने कहा हाँ मुझे लगता है ठीक है। तो उसने कहा मुझे नहीं लगता ये ठीक है। बात खत्म। मुझे लगा कि उसने पूरी जिंदगी लोगों के लिए, आदिवासियों के लिए और डैम से प्रभावित क्षेत्र में लोग जो इतना सारा रिसर्च, इतनी सारी जानकारी, इतने सारा मीडिया के सामने भी बहुत, और मेरी बड़ी बहन भी उसी आंदोलन से जुड़ी हुई थी, मैं भी काफ़ी बार गई हूँ उस नदी में, नदी के क्षेत्र में, प्रभाव क्षेत्र में, और बहुत बड़े बड़े भाषण भी दिए हैं। मगर क्या बारगर्ल्स के लिए उसको इतनी ही जानकारी चाहिए थी कि 50,000 रुपये एक गरीब लड़की अगर नाच के कमाती है तो सबके पेट में दर्द होता है, और क्यों होता है वो दर्द? मैंने जब होम मिनिस्टर से मिली तो उन्होंने भी मुझे यही सवाल पूछा था कि आपको पता है वो एक रात में 5-5 हज़ार रुपये कमाती है? तो मैंने कहा हाँ कमाती है। तो उन्होंने कहा कि मुझे लगता है कि ये गलत है। मैंने वेश्या व्यवसाय में जो औरतें हैं उनको 5 रुपए के लिए अपना शरीर बेचने के बारे में मैंने सुना है। तो मैंने कहा हाँ मैंने भी सुना है। तो उन्होंने कहा मैं उनकी मजबूरी समझ सकता हूँ जो 5 रुपए में देह बेचती है, मगर जो 5,000 रुपये कमाती है अपनी कला को दिखा के, मैं उनकी मजबूरी नहीं समझ सकता। तो मैंने उनको कहा कि मैंने इससे अश्लील चीज कभी सुनी नहीं कि एक औरत को 5 रुपए के लिए देह व्यापार करना पड़ रहा है, शरीर बेचना पड़ रहा है, उसकी मजबूरी आप समझ सकते हो। मगर 5,000 रुपये जो कमा रही है किसी के साथ बिना सोए, और सोती है तो अपनी मर्जी से सोती है, पैसे के लिए नहीं सोती है, तो उसकी मजबूरी आप नहीं समझ सकते। मुझे ये अश्लील लगता है। तो उन्होंने कहा इसमें क्या अश्लील है, ये तो सही है, ये तो रियलिटी है। तो मैंने कहा कितनी बुरी बात है ना किसी को 5 रुपए के लिए सोना पड़े। अगर वो ही उठ के कमाठीपुरा से, क्योंकि बहुत सारी वेश्याओं से मैं मिली हूँ, मैं उनके बच्चों के लिए काउंसलिंग का काम कर रही थी, और धीरे धीरे मेरे संपर्क बढ़े। मैंने भले उस एनजीओ के साथ काम करना छोड़ दिया था काफ़ी समय पहले, मगर तभी ऐसे हुआ था कि उन्होंने मुझे ये कहा कि अब हमारी लड़कियां बार में डांस करती हैं। जब मैं बार डांसर्स की यूनियन बना रही थी तो काफ़ी सारी वेश्याओं ने, जब तभी वो वेश्या व्यवसाय कर रही थी, उन्होंने कहा कि अब हमारी लड़कियां वेश्या व्यवसाय नहीं करती, डांस बार में डांस करके पैसे कमाती है। उनको 5 रुपए के लिए किसी के साथ सोना नहीं पड़ रहा है, वो बिना किसी को हाथ लगाए, अगर उनको कोई हाथ भी नहीं लगाता है फिर भी वो 5 से 10 हज़ार कमा लेती है। और यही सोनागाछी में भी मैंने सुना था कि बहुत सारी औरतें, उनके ही बच्चियां डांस बार में आई थी और अच्छा खासा कमा रही थी। तो मुझे लगता है कि हमारे समाज को औरतों को वेश्या बनते हुए देखना अच्छा लगता है कि मजबूरी में देह व्यापार करती है, मगर बिना देह व्यापार किए डांस करके इतनी शोहरत, इतने पैसे कमाए, तो वो एक तरन्नुम खान बन जाती है, क्योंकि जेलस हो जाते हैं लोग, बहुत गुस्सा हो जाते हैं, उनको पसंद नहीं है। बहुत सारी औरतें कहती थी हम बैंक में काम करते हैं और महीने की 40-50 हज़ार रुपये तनख्वाह लेते हैं, और ये लड़कियां एक रात में 50-50 हज़ार, 5-5 लाख कमाती है। ये उनसे बर्दाश्त नहीं होता, और मैं इसके खिलाफ हूँ। मैं इतना ही कहना चाहती हूँ, और मुझे लगता है कि जितनी ऐसी किताबें आए बहुत अच्छा होगा बारगर्ल्स के लिए, क्योंकि अभी भी उम्मीद नहीं हारी है, और शायद बार खुलेंगे फिर से। बहुत दिक्कतें हैं, मगर फिर भी इनके अगली जनरेशन या उससे अगली जनरेशन, जो लड़कियां डांस बार में नाच सकती है और अच्छे पैसे कमा सकती है, और वहाँ भी दिक्कतें हैं, प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, मगर वो तो हर एक के, मुझे नहीं लगता है कि आप भी सेटिस्फाइड हो जो आप काम कर रहे हो, आपके साथ भी दिक्कतें आती है, तो बारगर्ल्स के साथ भी दिक्कतें आती है, तो हमें इसे समझ लेना चाहिए। धन्यवाद।
वर्षा जी, आज के इस अहम अवसर पर आप यहाँ पधारी और अपने जो अनुभव कथन किए, प्रत्यक्ष अनुभव कथन किए, और साथ ही अपने बहुमूल्य विचार प्रकट किए, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। Ladies and gentlemen, we got the Madam Varsha ji actually works in this field with these girls. We got an insider perspective from her. Let us go and get another perspective from Mr. Kiran Kala, who is a brand consultant. Well, his first book of fiction, Halfway Up the Mountain, used the leitmotif of the famous 6 verses of the soul, Atma Shatakam, by the Hindu philosopher Adi Shankaracharya, who propounded the concept of non-dualism, Advaita. His second book of fiction, To Pronounce and a Verb, used the leitmotif of Ayurveda, which suggests that our psychosomatic constitution leads us to interpret the same reality differently. Mr. Kalab has conducted workshops on creativity and synectics, a technique of group problem solving for institutions as diverse as Infosys and Bennett Coleman. Inspired by J. Krishnamurti, the famous philosopher of the 20th century, Kiran Kalab has taught at the Banaras School for 4 years. I would request him to please address this august audience.
So we had planned, I would ask him questions, which is what you do. He has a video to show you. Is that clear? Okay. So first, I returned to this event from Delhi, and like you do in college, you do last minute revision. I was picking the book and reading it all over again, just so to make sure that I hadn't missed any details. And the gentlemen, 2 gentlemen sitting next to me, were attracted by just the cover. So first I want to congratulate Trisha, where is she, for doing such a fabulous job of the production of this book. I want to then congratulate Varsha for, I think she has changed this from a book launch into an event that is much deeper, much larger, much wider, and I think we will all go back changed people to some extent. So the questions I wanted to ask, can I start? Okay. And we can end with the video. So when Devashish asked me to come for the launch of the book, I said, why do you want me to be there? He said, because you have written books yourself. So what I'm going to do is talk about the book not as a fellow writer, but as a reader. And one of the strange things about any book launch is that most of the people who come at the book launch have not read the book. Now I have that advantage that I have read the book. So I'm going to ask you about the book, Devashish, here. One of the things which is very different about this, let me start with that, which is the title. Okay, Without Prejudice. The word prejudice, as far as I know, comes from prejudging. Now, in your case, when you say without prejudice, whose prejudice? The person who goes and flings money, the policeman, the politician, us English media reading people who think it should be a tourist spot. Whose prejudice are we talking about?
Without Prejudice has a layer. I mean, this is for everybody. The society judges us with preconceived notions. We judge ourselves with preconceived notions. Police judges them. Media judges them. Everybody judges them. So what I thought of is, without judging them, first you experience it. I'm not saying that you go inside, at least you know about it. What's happening is, most of the time, what I found out, I'm working about it for about 10 years. My son is here, Dipayan. They know, my family know, everybody. What I found out is that we judge them without knowing them, without knowing this word. So I wanted to say, don't judge anybody, judge after knowing them. So that's why it was Without Prejudice.
Beautiful. The other part is that while you say it's a book of fiction and it has what most books of fiction have. So it has a plot, it has a twist in the tale. Pallavi's father we discovered later on. It has strong characters who develop over from her childhood till her emancipation. You have drawn out her character strongly, Pallavi's character as Raja August. All of that is there, but there is also a very strong element, almost like a non-fiction book. There is tons of detail from the rituals that they undergo, to the specific villages, to every single act that they undertake, whether it's the calf or the mother and the father. Is this desk research, or you actually in those 10 years went and experienced all of this?
I did. In fact, I'm entrenched with some of the families. In a sense, they have adopted me. They generally, I mean, this community don't allow you inside. I mean, Varshaji, when you speak to Varshaji or one-on-one, you will know. This entire community is shrouded in mystery. We don't know our India. I mean, what we know of our India is possibly what the historians fed us. But our history books has possibly not discovered half of India. So these families, these communities, these people, they are real. They exist.
What exactly I think you should explain?
Then I'm going to give away the plot of the book.
Not the plot. When you mention community, what is the meaning of community?
See, the point is, in India, we look at people because of our caste, because of our religion, because of our language, because of our geography, and all these places. No, these are a group of people who are extinct. We don't know about them. And they got extincted from our history books, from our records, more than 100 years ago. And that's a very heinous crime that has happened. So you need to discover that. They are a shadow world. We see them, yet we don't see them. And they are Indians, and they are part of us. We don't know about them, but they do exist. If you go to their villages, you will see them, but you will not be able to feel them. They will not allow you. They will not allow you. I mean, it took me to crack this for nearly 5 years, to just get the trust of these people, to allow me to into their life, into their community. With Varshaji also, I mean, it took her a lot of time. So people who get interested there, it takes a lot of time. I will just say one incident, how I got interested. In actually in 1997, I mean, this is the year I will be in Mumbai for 20 years. When I came in 1997, my family was away in Calcutta. I was here alone. And I had a very, most of the journalists are either Mallus or Bongs. So I had a very prominent journalist friend. So he said, "Kya kar raha hai raat ko?" I said, "Kuch nahi yaar." Bola, "Chal mere saath." So he took me somewhere. And that was a dance bar. And I got fascinated. I was a middle-class Bengali boy from Calcutta. A lot of preconceived notions, a lot of prejudice. And he took me there. And when I stepped into this world, I was there for about 4 hours. I was fascinated. Frankly speaking, I've never seen so many beautiful girls dancing at one place. That was my first attraction. That was 1997. I left it at that. Mr. Padamsi also said that he used to visit, so you'll understand that same kind of a passion and other things. In 2001, I saw a film, Chandni Par. Everybody raves about it. It has not even scratched 10% of the world. I mean, Varshaji will possibly say that. It has not been able to scratch the 10% of this world. That got me thinking. Then in 2004 and 5, I got more entrenched because of certain things. I was in events, in public relations, in advertising. So that's how I got hooked onto it. And the more I started talking, please, if you speak to these girls on a one-on-one, they are human beings. And possibly they are far more sharper and far more rationalists than we are. Give them that credit. I mean, you get to know them, you will know them.
The next thing I want, since you got pulled into this world which, as you said, we all see but never notice, has that progressed beyond the writing of this book?
No, they're friends. Of course they're friends. I'm not going to say.
No.
But
in the sense, is there any kind of movement that you envisage, or wanted to help Varshaji's cause or anything like that has happened? Or you created any kind of community that is interested in it? Or
No.
the book is the face of everything that you wanted to do?
No, what I felt was one, I will give you another example. I mean, I'm very thankful to, there's a gentleman sitting here, okay, Mr. Nirmal Bhattacharya. He always keeps in the background. He's part of the Niyogi books, and I'm thankful to Trisha's father, Mr. Niyogi. Okay. Before I gave them the manuscript, I gave it to an international publishing house. I'm not going to name them. I have their email. I don't pronounce that word right, so I've asked if I had to tell me that. That publication wrote me back as email saying it's a very contentious issue. We will not touch that. Then I went to a second publisher. That lady said the book is not lyrical enough. And I went, sent the publication, the manuscript to Mr. Bhattacharya. Within a month, he came back saying, we are interested in it. See, what has happened is, we don't want to know about this world. Because we feel very uncomfortable about it. As Indians, we don't discuss about sexuality. We don't feel very comfortable. We don't discuss with our sons and daughters about the boyfriends and girls. And in some places it happens, sometimes it's not. So we want to shroud it away. This is part of our life. If we go to UK, don't we visit Soho? Right? We go to Wembley, we go to the strip joints. Is it in any way changing the British culture or the American culture? It's part of our culture. You don't have to read the book. If you're really interested, for hundreds of years this is part of us, but we want to denounce it. Like Varshaji was saying, morality. Morality is something that I can still be pure. But that doesn't mean that I have to put somebody down to be pure. So I thought, one, it was an interesting topic. It intrigued me. If I felt as average middle class Indian, it's intriguing me. I wanted to say this story. I was in a hyper mode to say this story. So I wanted to say it. And I thought everybody should read it.
Fantastic. No, it certainly is. Whoever is going to buy this will be made to think twice. My last question, Devashish. 10 years have passed. You have been chatting with and talking and having conversation with Varshaji. Is there any change in this 10 years in the condition of these people? Do you see any hope?
No, that is in few layers. One, I don't think the people, those who are in the authority, they have really understood the problem.
You mean the politicians and the policemen?
Yeah, the administration per se. See, what we are saying is, okay, in business term, we are all business people. It's a supply chain. This is at the end of the supply chain. I'm sure if Varshaji has been able to find out, if I have been able to find out, authorities have far more superior intelligence process. They know what is the beginning of the supply chain. Now, if we don't do anything at the beginning of the supply chain, the end of the supply chain will not change. And what the authorities are trying to do is they are trying to do a temporary solution. I think some people have realized, but not all. That should change. I will just give one example. The Mumbai dance bars were officially, whether they are still on or off, I will not get into that discussion. But Mumbai dance bars were officially closed in 2005. Prior to that, there was no dance bar in India. In 2006, in Calcutta, dance bars have started opening. Today, in Calcutta, there are 75 dance bars. From the beginning of the Calcutta airport to the end of Eastern Metropolitan Bypass, there are 75 dance bars. These girls are going there and dancing. There is specific traffic that comes from all over India, all over the world to visit dance bars. Unfortunately, the traffic has shifted from Mumbai to Calcutta. I am unable to find that clip, but I still remember I had seen a clip of a leading publications. They had said that Mumbai has lost more than 500 crores of revenue because of the shifting of this tourist traffic. Whether it is good or bad, that's an entirely different issue. What has happened is, the dance bar is a end of a supply chain. The people, the administration, everybody need to understand that the beginning of the supply, it's a social problem. What I'm trying to do, Kiran, is we are trying to find a political solution. You can't find a political solution for a social problem.
Very
You
well.
need to find out the social, remedy, and that's the we are not finding.
Fantastic. Anybody in the audience has any specific questions?
So what I will do is, I just want to show, I have a friend, brilliant editor. When 2 days ago I was discussing with him, we have just prepared a promo. This has nothing to do with the book, but then that will give you a flavor how possibly society looks at it.
Yeah, we should play that.
Yeah.
Yes, so thank you Kiranji
Nice
for
yes.
making that very interesting, that active, interactive segment with the author. Ladies and gentlemen, well, the author, I have not really introduced him, so can I take a minute of yours here? A communicator, corporate reputation advisor and brand strategist, Debashish did his graduation in commerce from Calcutta University. Thereafter, he did his postgraduate diploma in PR. Initially, he chose his career in advertising. Later on, he took up public relations as his calling. He began writing freelance non-fiction features just after his graduation since early 1980s during his spare time, and continued writing them in various Indian newspapers and magazines for nearly 2 decades. Thereafter, because of varied domestic and overseas senior executive roles and assignments, his articles became few and far between. Without Prejudice is his maiden novel, so we will have to put our hands together for Debashish, and kudos to Niyogi Books for taking up this subject. Well, we are almost towards the end of this program. But before we end it with an AV, I would just like to mention that Madam Anuja Agarwal, Associate Professor, Department of Sociology, Delhi School of Economics, was to attend this function. She could not make it here, but I'm sure she is attending the Delhi launch. She has given the backwards for the book. I would just read that line. Marrying fiction with facts, this maiden novel's spotlight is on the very long and deep roots of Mumbai's dance bar world. Driven by a desire to get to the bottom of this elusive and enigmatic microcosm, the novel is a provocative combination of ambition, imagination and intrigue. Well, Debashish just mentioned that this AV that we are about to see is made by O.C. Bhattacharya. He is present with us. Mr. Bhattacharya, yes, there he is in the maroon kurta.
Stand up, stand up. This guy conserves.
Yes, I'll mention that. Well, he is the erstwhile chief editor of ZTV, Star TV. He is the person who launched MTV, and among the handful, in fact just 2 in India, who restore old films from world over under the banner Quality Matters. So that's O.C. Bhattacharya. Time for now for some.
This is just a teaser, because if you see how society reflects dance parts, and then maybe if you have time we can have one.
Yes, we can do that later, but first a few glimpses, visual glimpses of the book. Let's play the short film. We can sit there, I think. Can we dim the lights, please?